Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jay with Elise Guitars. I have been working on my bending process over the last 6 months or so and really kind of have it dialed in. So I wanted to share that with you guys since I've moved from my own custom bending machine to a Fox style bender. So let's go over that. This process really isn't new. It's very similar to what I was doing before, but there are a couple of key changes. I've made it a little more precise and prescriptive. We're still going to use steel slats. So I've got one steel slat on the bottom. We're still going to build a sandwich. The next step in this sandwich is your wood. Make sure it's oriented correctly. I know my waist is here, and I've got the waistline drawn here. This is going to go inside of my parchment paper. Try to line it up with the waist and the waist. I'm going to spray this with regular Windex. Yes, it's a light wood, and yes, this is blue Windex. You don't need to get carried away with the Windex in the waist. It should be a little damp. We don't need to soak it. It just needs to be a little bit wet. The waist is going to tend to trap the moisture the most, so whatever you put on there now, we really want to try to cook off. Okay, that's sprayed pretty evenly. That looks good. And on top of the wood is going to go the other steel slat. This is one of the key differences here. And after that, the bending blanket is going to go on top. I've got the end of this clipped together. That's going to go all the way through. And I have the waistline on the steel slat that you can see through here. This is where I've indexed my waist. Before I've even turned the heat on, I am going to crank this down a little bit. And we are going to do what John Hall at Blues Creek Guitars calls friendly friction. We're going to squeeze this down just a little bit. I want to leave at least an inch between the bottom slat and the top of the form here. So that's about where I've got it. One of the other additions here in this process are weights. And I have 2.5 pound weight. That's going to go here. The other one is going to go on the back here, just kind of riding on the back side of this curve. These weights will help push down from the top, and they will help this blanket to continue to put heat down onto this slat and onto the wood. And if we just leave these weights here for the first couple minutes while this is heating up, then the weights will actually fall off. And if we're not quite paying attention, then that is the sign that it is totally ready to go. On my other machine, I started in the lower bout and worked my way back. This is a little bit different. On this machine, we are going to start in the lower bout. Second step is going to be the upper bout. And the third step is going to be the waist. And if we leave that gap in the waist right now, and we clamp down the lower bout and the upper bout, by the time we get to the end and we clamp down on the waist, it will draw in these flats and these curves really, really nicely. I'm going to insert my temperature probe. This is my temperature controller. Main power on. The blanket is still off. The thermocouple or thermometer is on. This is my thermometer temp, 68. I've set the target temp for 295, and let's not be fussy about that. We're just going to go to 300. Let's call it 300. When the lower bout gets to about 250 or 260, we can start to bend the lower bout.
When you're ready to bend the lower bout, start a timer or stopwatch. It should only take you 4 to 5 minutes to complete the bending process from here.
If it's taken you more than 5 minutes, there's probably something we could do a little bit more efficiently, and it could cause some issues later with drying the wood out too much, case hardening, making it brittle. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong if we take too long. Then we're going to crank the waist a little bit more in the middle, just a little bit more, maybe a 1/4 inch more snug. Then we're going to take a look at the upper bout. When we go to the upper bout, we're going to lift this up and take a look at the wood and see if it's dried out. If it's dried out, we're going to hit it with a little more Windex. And by that time, our upper bout should be about 270, maybe 280. And then we're okay to start on this upper bout. Once we complete that, we'll move to the waist, crank the waist down and complete that. And by that time, it's probably going to be at the max temp of 300. If you're doing this manually, just keep an eye on your thermometer and make sure we're not going too far over 300. Once we get everything bent, we are going to turn the machine down to 250 or manually toggle that on and off to get that back down to 250. We want it to hover around 250 for about 10 minutes to make sure it's nice and dried out. We don't want to make it brittle, we just want to dry it out. And not at too high a temperature. 250 seems to be the right temperature for that. And then after that, turn the machine off and we let it cool down. Probably takes 30 minutes to come down to room temperature. We'll get it in the form and bend the other side. And that's doing its job already. All right. All right, we are at 250. And I'm going to start to work this down. Looks like we're already at target temp. So I should move kind of quickly on the upper bout. Okay. Upper bout is done. I'll crank this down. I don't need to waste a whole lot of time doing that. Doesn't need to go too slow. All right. That is complete. I'm going to turn this down to 250. All right, now it's down to 250. I'm going to let it sit there for about 10 minutes. 10 minutes is up. Blanket's off. Main power's off. Unplug the blanket just to make sure. And then this is going to cool for about 30 minutes. All right, let's take this thing out. Right, there it is. That looks pretty good. And we'll get it into the form.
Now this side is in the form and we're ready to bend the second one. It didn't seem necessary to make a video twice as long just to show you the exact same thing on the second side, but feel free to watch this one as many times as you'd like. The species you decide to use may need a different temperature or a different moisture level. What I've shown you here is a great starting point for both tamarind and East Indian rosewood, assuming you've thinned your sides to around 80 thousandths or just over 2 millimeters. My previous bending video always felt a little loosey-goosey and non-committal, so I wanted to give you all a more detailed roadmap to bending, and I think this accomplished that goal. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next video.